Welcome in, one and all. That is the NFL on CBS intro whenever there is football. And that's probably my second favorite intro out of all of the intros that they have. I'm sure I've played the Fox video quite a few times. That's probably my favorite one of all. But there's just something about CBS too. That, like, I know nowadays everything has changed because they could easily have two AFC teams playing on Fox, and they could easily have two NFC teams playing on CBC, I apologize, CBS. But I do remember back like in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. Oh, there's the cat. That's nice. Just strolling through the video, are you? Oh, there. It's going to be the center of attention. I do remember back like in the 90s and early 2000s, whenever they had the CBS intro, typically it was two AFC teams playing, and whenever they had two NFC teams playing, they always had them on the Fox. But like I said, they seem to have expanded since then. So what I'm going to do now is I apologize for the long intro. Is now make my predictions for week number 16 of the NFL season. Um, it's hard to believe that the year is almost up for the regular season. In exactly a month from now, the wild card games will start. So there's a lot of crucial games for the next 3 weeks for a lot of teams. So far, only two teams have made or clinched the playoff spot, and I will discuss them towards the end of the video. But as of right now, the Thursday night matchup, can see the teams are on your screen. The New Orleans Saints are heading into Los Angeles to take on the Rams. Both these teams are coming in with identical records, 7-7. The only difference is the Saints are still actually fighting for a division crown, as they're just one game behind. Actually, they're tied for first in that division with the Buccaneers, and I will preview them just momentarily. So a critical game for the Saints. If they do happen to lose, they could still get into a wild card spot, but a very critical game for the Saints. And speaking of wild card spots, the Los Angeles Rams, they're also in a spot. I believe they have the number 7th seed as we speak heading into this game. So technically, right now, they are in the postseason, but anything can happen over the next 3 weeks. I am going to give the edge to the Rams in this one because it seems they are very dedicated and they seem to be clicking at the right time of the year. And because that NFC is so weak, since they're at 7-7, like I said, that's the 7th seed right now. A lot of teams that have 6, potentially even 5 wins are still in contention. If I'm not mistaken, there's like 26 teams or something like that that still have yet to clinch a playoff spot. So it's hard to believe we're this late in the year and there's only like 6 teams that have yet, or 6 teams that have officially been eliminated from the postseason. So very critical, like I said, for both these teams. I will give the edge to the Rams, as I think I've already said this once. In case you haven't noticed already, I do have a habit of repeating myself, so I apologize for that. The reason I picked them is because they've been more consistent. That they're actually on a winning streak right now, whereas the Saints, just like a lot of teams in that division, it's like win loss, win loss, win loss, and then you wonder why that the winner of that division is going to get the 4th seed because a lot of other teams are in the double-digit win column, and these teams are at 500 this late in the year. All right, that takes care of my preview for the Thursday night matchup. There's actually 2 games on Saturday, and I'll get to them just momentarily. So the first game takes place in Pittsburgh, where we have the Cincinnati Bengals, and they're heading in to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. A very big game for both these teams. Obviously, both of them are still in contention for a playoff spot. The Bengals are coming into this matchup at 8-6, and the Steelers are coming into this matchup at 7-7. The Steelers are still technically in the hunt. I think they have like the number 10th spot, if I'm not mistaken, in the wild card position. A lot of teams in the AFC only have 8 wins. I do believe one team has 9 wins. So if you have 7 wins now, you can still potentially catch up and clinch a wild card spot. But the Bengals, they are, I believe, in the 9th or 8th spot, 8-6. I don't think they're in contention right now. They very well could be, but as far as I know, the Browns have the 5th seed, and the 6th and 7th. I'm a little fuzzy on those. I should have looked at the standings. I very well could look at the standings, but I'll do it after. Anyways, I want to get the edge to the Bengals. Kind of rambling on here. I apologize. It's going to be a very long preview for those who haven't already noticed. I'm going to give the edge to the Bengals in this one just because even though they're Joe Burrow lists, whoever they have behind center must have some of his DNA because he's been on fire for this Cincinnati squad. And as for the Steelers, they were down Kenny Pickett, and that's obviously their quarterback. They turned Mitch Trubisky last week, but it did not fare that well for the Steelers. I just think it's going to be a tough road. And I do know I made a prediction at the start of the season saying I think the Steelers might get 8 or 9 wins. And realistically, if they lose this game, they'd be lucky to get 8 or 9 wins because, yeah, they would fall to 7 and 8. And then before they'd have to win 2 straight games just to get above 500. So for the Steelers, I'm sure there's a lot of nervous fans in the stands. The next matchup takes place back in Los Angeles. Where did I put that? Where we have the Chargers. And they are playing host to the Buffalo Bills. So for the Chargers, this has been a very lost season to say the least. Very disappointing. And now Justin Herbert's done for this year. They're coming into this matchup at 5-9, and the Bills seem to get hot right now, but they're still out of a playoff position at 8-6. Will they be able to go on a 3-game winning streak? Only time will tell. As long as the same Buffalo team shows up, the same desperate team shows up that they have the last 2 weeks, they should be able to pull the victory out against the Chargers. On Sunday, which is Christmas Eve, that's when all the rest of the action happens. And there's actually 3 games on Christmas Day, too. So I will preview all of those. So the first on this schedule takes place in the NFC South, where we have the Atlanta Falcons, who are 7-7. Sorry, I meant to say there was a 3-way tie for first. Atlanta Falcons, and they're taking on the Indianapolis Colts. So once again, both these teams, a lot up for stake in this particular matchup. The Colts are at 8-6. They have the number 7 seed, I do believe, or maybe some of the number 6 seed in that AFC wildcard chase. But they're also tied with the Jaguars for first in that division too. So they could easily get the division and potentially get a maybe number 3 or number 4 slot in the standings. But again, if they lose and Jacksonville happens to win, then the Colts have to win their last 2 games of the season. Hope the Jaguars lose their last 2 games of the season. Either way, the Colts should be able to make the postseason. It's going to be whether or not you have a home game or not. And as for the Falcons, they're in the same position as the Colts. They have 7-7 record. Like I said, there is a 3-way tie for first in that division with the Saints and the Buccaneers. So a lot is up for grabs for the Falcons. And also, too, if they weren't to get the division, they very well could get a wild card spot, as the Rams, who I just previewed, are also 7-7. So it's hard to believe that there's 3 teams in one division on both sides, and all 3 teams could easily get in the postseason. I don't think they will, but it's crazy to think for both of these divisions, even though one's AFC and one's NFC, both these teams could potentially have 3 teams in making the playoffs. I am going to give the edge to the Atlanta Falcons. Even though I do believe the Colts are a very good team, I think for the Falcons, especially after losing last week, because they were hoping to get that first placed in their squad or in their division. I feel like I've said that division word so many times. Wow. I just think that the Falcons are going to be more desperate. Like I said, for the Colts, they should be able to at least get a wild card spot if they can't catch the Jaguars. But I have more faith in the Colts being more successful. But I believe the Falcons should be able to get the home victory in this one. Now, the Colts could easily win, but I'm just going to predict that Atlanta gets the victory. All right, off to Carolina, where they are playing host to the Green Bay Packers. What a season it's been for the Panthers, coming into this matchup at 2-12. Not good at all. Obviously, they have probably the worst record in the NFL as we speak. They're just because the Cardinals have 3 wins. So if the season were to end today, Carolina would get the first overall pick, but then they also have Chicago's first overall pick. But depending on where Chicago finishes in the standings, they could be in the top 10 or a top 15. They could have 2 picks, I apologize, in the top 10 or the top 15. For the Packers, a very tough loss last week. They've now dropped to 6-8. But again, not all hope is lost. I just finished saying how the Rams have the number 7 seed, and they only have 1 more win than the Packers. So If the Rams should happen to lose, the Packers win, then things could get very interesting on the last 2 weeks of the season. But if the Packers lose this game, I'm going to say it right now, they're not making the playoffs. All right, now we're off to Texas, where we have the Houston Texans, who are playing extremely well, and they're playing host to the Cleveland Browns. It's hard to believe that when you think of the Browns for so long, they were so terrible and so unsuccessful. But I remember after they made the postseason, I think it was the 2021-2022 season, and they beat the Steelers in the wild card, and then they were close against Kansas City Chiefs. Everyone thought finally the Browns are back and they'll be able to get back into contention. And then they had a horrendous season last year, and it was like, oh my God, are these the same old Browns that are showing up? And despite the fact that Deshaun Watson is playing behind center, they're coming into this matchup at 8-6. They have the number 4 seed as we speak in the AFC wildcard position. And imagine it'd be a crazy scenario if they went out their season games and say Baltimore goes on the 2 or 3 game losing streak, they could get the AFC North crown, and that would be absurd to think. But if I was a betting man, I'd say they at least finish with a wildcard spot. Speaking of wildcard spots and potentially division crowns, the Houston Texans are coming in this matchup. They are at 8-6. There's a 3-way tie, like I said before, with the Colts and the Jaguars. So a win here and potentially losses by the Jaguars and the Colts, and the Texans could find themselves in first place in that division, which is crazy to think because I do recall at the start of the season, I'm like, I don't know how I feel about C.J. Stroud. Will he will be the franchise quarterback moving forward, but how successful will they be? And I think I'm pretty sure I said the Texans will not make the playoffs. Well, now they've made a fool out of me. As like I said, they're in a wild card spot, or at least in 9th in that division race. Like I said, there's a lot of 8-6 teams, so I'm kind of scrambled as to who has the 5th through like 9th in that wild card positioning. For this matchup, I'm going to give the edge to the Texans. I just think they're going to be really hungry, like I said, to not only get a playoff spot, but a potential home game as well. All right. The next one. Oh, it's got to be the game of the week. We're off to New York, where we have the Aaron Rodgers New York Jets taking on the Washington no, don't say that word. The Washington football, no, don't say that word. The Washington Commanders. That's right. It does say football team on here because this is Madden 22. But yeah, game of the week. 100% game of the week. The Washington Commanders are coming in this matchup at 4-10. Holy crap. And the New York Jets are 5-9. Oh my gosh, this could be a Super Bowl match. No, it's not going to be a Super Bowl match because both these teams are not even in contention as we speak. The Jets got eliminated last week, and even if there's a sliver of hope that the Washington football team can make the postseason, they got to win this game, win out their season, and hope everybody else in the wild card position ahead of them also goes on 3-game losing streaks. So I'm going to say both these teams are not making the 2023-2024 postseason. And I'm going to give the edge to the Washington football team. I mean the Commanders. All right. Off to the NFC North, where I think this is actually going to be a very intriguing matchup. No joke aside. So all jokes aside, we have the host team in the Minnesota Vikings, and they are playing against the Detroit Lions. So a big game for both these teams. For the Vikings, obviously they're still trying to stay in contention for a postseason spot, and they very well probably have one. I think they're coming in this matchup at 7-7. So a big game for them to not only stay in a wildcard spot, but if they happen to beat the Lions, they'll only be like 2 games behind them for a potential NFC North crown. So imagine the Vikings roared back after a horrendous start and claimed the NFC North for the second straight year. That's a big if. Because if this Lions squad shows up like they did against my Broncos, wow, they could easily get their first NFC title since like 92, 93. That's when it was the NFC Central. Now they are in the NFC North. So a very big game for both these teams. And I say the Minnesota Vikings pull off a major upset, and the Lions have to wait 1 more week to clinch a division. All right. The next matchup, takes place in the Music City, where we have the Tennessee Titans, and they're taking on the Seattle Seahawks. So the Titans have been officially eliminated from the postseason for the second straight year. At least they didn't get their hearts broken in Week 18. It happened 3 weeks earlier. They're coming this matchup at 5-9. And as for the Seahawks, they got a huge victory against the Eagles. And a crazy stat, since Pete Carroll's taken over the head coaching job for the Seahawks, the Eagles have never won a game. Wild. I'm going to give the edge to the Seahawks in this matchup. If Drew Lock can pull out another miracle, which I think he possibly can, and I don't know if I'm kind of having mixed feelings about him because obviously he used to be a Bronco. Yeah, I miss him, but I don't know. He's younger than Russ, I'll give him that, but I don't know. We'll see how he does in Week 16 against the Titans, as he should be the starting quarterback, and I believe he will lead the Seahawks team to their 8th win of the season to stay in contention for a playoff spot. All right, the next matchup takes place in Florida, where we have the Battle of Florida. Well, technically there's 3 teams in Florida, but this is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they are playing host to not the Miami Dolphins, but the Jacksonville Jaguars. So both these teams are technically on top of their respective divisions. The Jaguars are at 8-6, like I mentioned, with both the Colts and the Texans. They're in a 3-way tie for first place, so a very crucial game for the Jaguars. And as for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, another crucial game for them as well, as when I both discussed the Falcons and the Saints. The winner of this matchup could potentially be on their way to a division crown. And I did not predict Tampa to get the division. I'm pretty sure I said either the Saints or possibly the Falcons. But the Buccaneers are sticking around, and Baker Mayfield is making a doubter of me almost all the time. Anytime I bet against him, he always pulls off a victory. So with that, I will give the edge to the Buccaneers. I just have a funny feeling that they are going to get their 8th win of the season. But even if the Jaguars were to lose, they would still be in contention for a wild card spot. But if for some fluke reason all 3 teams from the NFC South happen to lose, I believe the Jaguars would still be still leading the division in week number 17. All right, off to Chicago, where we have the Bears, and they are playing host to the Arizona Cardinals. So this is going to be one of those games where I highly doubt both these teams are making the postseason. The Cardinals have already been eliminated. The only way the Bears can make a postseason run is if they win out their last 3 weeks of the season and everybody else ahead of them happens to lose. But I don't think that's happening. I will give them the win in this one, so it'll be very interesting. They should improve to 6-9. And like I said, depending on how everybody else in that wild card race is doing, they could almost be like a game behind, so to say. But I do believe they should get the victory over Kyler Murray and company. Unless Kyler Murray doesn't play Call of Duty, then the Cardinals this will be a great win for them. All right, off to Miami, where I think this is going to be a very good game. I'm not going to lie to you. They are taking on the Dallas Cowboys. So both these teams are coming in this matchup being top of their division, both in the East, obviously the Dallas in the NFC, the Dolphins in the AFC. Both these teams are coming in at 10-4, so a victory here for either of these squads can go a long way and not only securing a playoff spot, but potentially leading to a division title. I'm going to give the edge to the Dolphins. I think this is going to be their biggest test of the season. They've beaten a lot of bad teams, but this Dallas Cowboys team are for real. They can be a very dangerous squad. I'm going to predict it right now. If the Cowboys win out their division, they can be very dangerous. They might even be a threat in the NFC. As for the Dolphins, like I said, the biggest test of the year for sure. I am going to give them the advantage being home. And as long as Tua can play as well as he has been playing, and he honestly is like in my top 5 for the NFL MVP, like I said, they should be able to prevail and get a win over the Red Hot Cowboys. All right, off to the Mile High City, where my Broncos, who are on life support, they are playing host to the New England Patriots. No, it's not Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning. It's whoever the hell the Patriots have because they keep flopping through all the quarterbacks versus an inconsistent Russell Wilson who looks so great in the 6-game win streak. And now we've lost 2 of the last 3 games. And yeah, it's not looking too great. So the Broncos coming in this matchup at 7-7. The Patriots already have been eliminated. They're coming in this matchup at 3-11. But you can't count them out as they did defeat the Steelers last week, and the Steelers are in contention for a wild card spot. So you can't really count them out. I can't give enough credit to Belichick and how great he is with the defense. I believe he was a defensive coordinator for the Giants back in the mid 90s, and I believe the Browns before he took over the head coaching job. But he's great on the defense. I can't think unless the Patriots, I know offensively they've dropped off since Brady left. I don't know how bad their defense really is. I believe they still could be very good. But I will give the edge to the Broncos. This is a very critical game if they want to try and stay in a playoff position. I don't think they're going to catch the Chiefs for a division crown, but a win here. And like I said, if a couple other teams happen to lose that they're chasing, they could still be in the hunt for the last 2 weeks of the season. So I will give the edge to my Denver Broncos. Let's ride. All right. That is the Sunday night matchup as well. I should have also mentioned that. So now there's actually 3 games on Christmas. Oh, good golly. Santa got my letter. 3 letters. 3 letters. My God. 3 games in the NFL on Christmas Day. Staying in the AFC West, we have the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are coming in this matchup, sitting at 6-8. I want to say that a loss here, and obviously there's no chance of them making the postseason, but they're still technically only like 2 games behind for the 7th and final wildcard spot. So a win here could potentially still keep them in the hunt, but I think it might be too little too late at this point. As for the Chiefs, a victory here and say the Broncos happen to lose, then they can claim like their 200th consecutive division. Feels like it's been 200. God, last time the Broncos won it was 2015, 2016. Now it's been almost 10 years. I want to give the edge to the Chiefs, and I think they will win. They probably will win, but if there's like a 0.01% chance the Raiders can pull off an upset, I'm saying this is the game. This is the game. They put 63 points up against the Chargers. If they can get 60 points up against Patrick Mahomes, they got a chance. All right. 2 other games on Christmas Day, and 2 of them, including the one I just previewed, are division matchups. So the next one takes place in the city of brotherly love. We have the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're playing host to a division foe in the New York Giants. For the Eagles, they're coming in this matchup sitting at 10-4. They currently have the number 4 seed in the NFC wildcard spot, and for the Giants, they're coming in this matchup at 5-9. They're technically not eliminated, but a loss here, and you can pretty much write their season off. They're coming in this matchup at 5-9. Like I said, if there's any slim chance the Giants can possibly win it, this is the game to do it, to keep things interesting. And for the Eagles, they got to stop this losing streak. Like 3 straight games. Yes, they're all against very good teams, but man, you cannot go on a losing streak, especially at this time of the year. I do remember when they for the first team to 10 wins, and I'm pretty sure I've said this before, it looked like they were going to be the team to beat, and not just the NFC, but the Super Bowl. Like they looked so dominant over all their opponents. It looked like everything was working, but now it's like the wheels are falling off, the chains like getting caught in the gears. It's like they're falling apart at the worst time of the year, and they're in danger of losing the NFC East crown, which looked like they were destined to get by this week. When you thought about them like a month ago, they looked like the best team ever, and they're like, oh, the Eagles are going to run away with the NFC East. Now they're in this 4th seed, and the Cowboys now currently hold the lead because they obviously beat the Eagles 2 weeks ago. So I really, really want to give the edge to the Eagles, and I think they probably will win, but I've been burned 3 weeks in a row, so I'm going with the G-Men. And the last game on Monday night, which is Christmas night, takes place in California, where we have the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Both these teams have already clinched a playoff spot for their respective conference. They're both coming in this matchup at 11-3. And I'm going to make this bold prediction right now. I'm going to say this is the Super Bowl matchup. The Ravens have been playing lights out. The 49ers, as of late, have been a complete, completely dominant. We'll put it that way. So for that, like I said, those two reasons, aside from them both being atop of their conference and both, as of now, guaranteed a wild card. Sorry, in the wild card they'll both be off because I think it was like 2 3 years ago where the NFL changed it, where if you get the number one seed in the entire conference, you're guaranteed a bye week for the wild card matchup, and a rest could do both these teams wonders. And you imagine a well rested Lamar Jackson coming in the playoffs, a well rested Brock Purdy and company with a week off. I think, like I said, both these teams very well could be in the Super Bowl, and it'd be the Ravens and the 49ers too, after the Ravens defeated them back in like Super Bowl 43 or 48 or something like that, 49, something like that. Yeah. All right. That takes care of my weekly preview. Coming into this week, I am sitting at 125-79. So as long as I don't go 0-16 the rest of the way, I should at least finish with an above 500 record. And I have a good feeling that at least one of these teams that I predicted will win. And I'd be okay with that. As always, I will do my weekly review next Tuesday, so that will be after Boxing Day. So if you are only tuning into the channel to watch the football, I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday. And stay safe. And take care.